already, I'm your host, Matt McGrath, alongside Mr. Luigi Capola. It is November 6th, 2024, in between weeks 9 and 10. We are over halfway through the NFL season, which just gets crazier and crazier. We just finished the MLB playoffs, and the MLB just is the longest season ever. And now we're already halfway through the NFL regular season, which is pretty crazy. But as a reminder, we will be live on YouTube live every Wednesday night starting at 7 p.m. Bring you latest news, rumors, and more about America's game and the league we all know and love, the NFL. Going into week 10, we're halfway through the season, midseason awards coming up. Seeing where players are going to be, if they're going to break any records towards the end of the season, what they're on pace for. But Mr. Luigi Capola, what's going on, baby?
Matthew, good to be back as always. I'm glad to join you another Wednesday night, or UConn first night, if you may. You're just mentioning how we're in between weeks 9 and 10 in the NFL season, and the fact that we're about to play the 10th week of football is mind-boggling. The season's been running by like Derrick Henry running down the sideline. It's just incredible, really, and it's been a great season. It's been a weird season for sure. But now we're at that midway point, and after Halloween, the teams take their masks off. I think you said that a couple weeks ago. The teams are going to take their masks off, and we're going to actually see who's the true contenders as the season keeps progressing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're getting better at that. Obviously, the picks have gotten a lot better. We're understanding what teams are good and what's bad. Obviously, still some surprises here and there, but for the most part, we're understanding who is a pretender and who is a contender. Luigi, we're going to skip injuries this week, and because there weren't too many of them, and we're going to get into the meat of things because we had the trade deadline this week. We had firings on Monday of this week after games on Sunday. And then we have a lot to recap with the actual games that happened in week 10. And then we'll get to the picks and we'll get out of here because you did mention that it is a UConn Huskies first night. They're playing Sacred Heart at 7 o'clock right now at Gamble, their first home game and opening game of the season, hoping to go on a little run for a three-peat here for a national championship, which hasn't happened in quite some time. So, let's get into it, Luigi. I'll let you take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. First up on the docket, we got the firing of Saints head coach Dennis Allen. After 2.5 seasons as the head coach and after a small stint as the interim head coach for the Saints, Allen went 18-25 in his tenure with the Saints in the last 2.5 years, and 26-53 as a coach all time. What do we think about that, Matt? I think it was a good move.
Yeah, I was a little shocked. I mean, I thought back because when I was putting the doc together and going through this news, I thought back to when they decided to make Dennis Allen the head coach 2.5 years ago after Sean Payton had kind of suddenly just said, I'm not going to coach football anymore. I'm going to take a step back. He took a step back. I think he coached his son's team and kind of took a year off from football. And then obviously the Saints still had the rights to him because he was still under contract technically if he did come back and coach for the Saints. And they ended up trading him to the Broncos for a first-round pick. So Dennis Allen, I mean, I think the reason they hired him was because he was an inside hire and it was the easiest thing to do. At the time, we kind of were like, is this the right thing to do necessarily? Like he didn't have success as the Raiders head coach in his 3 years there. He was fired actually with Derek Carr as the quarterback with the Raiders and also Derek Carr as the quarterback with the Saints. And not only does Derek Carr have that effect on head coaches, he also has the effect on wide receivers, apparently, which we can get into in a second here. But for Dennis Allen's sake, the organization was very grateful. They came out and basically stated that Dennis Allen has been a part of the New Orleans Saints for, upwards of almost 20 years in between his stints with other teams as defensive coordinator and now head coach. And nothing but thanks for him because some of his defenses under the Sean Payton era were outstanding. But it just turned out that, and what we found out with a lot of these good coordinators is that some aren't cut out to be head coaches, and Dennis Allen isn't one of them. And it wasn't an inspiring hire when it happened. There were a lot of good coaches that were hired in that cycle outside of the Saints that they could have pursued. They were one of the first teams to hire Dennis Allen in that cycle, and it kind of just seemed like, hey, we didn't expect Sean Payton to, leave us, so let's just hire somebody inside and promote him for the time being. But 2.5 years in, here we are, and he's fired.
Yeah, he's gone. Great defensive coordinator, like you mentioned. He ran some great defenses during those Drew Brees, Sean Payton years, and even afterwards. I mean, the past couple of years, their defense has been no laughing matter. This year, it's hit an all-time low for sure, and it just seems like the culture in New Orleans is also hit an all-time low after starting off as the hottest team in football and dropping seven straight. Yeah, and like you mentioned, he's a coordinator. I think that's what this second stint as a head coach. Obviously, you mentioned the Raiders stint as well. I think this second stint has kind of showed everyone across the league that he truly is just probably better off as a coordinator. Um, he did a good job keeping the team together over the past couple of years after, a lot of cap situations being affecting New Orleans, a lot of lacking draft picks, and just really not a great aura even around New Orleans in general. So I do him some credit. I think he'll find a job as a DC somewhere because he's successful in that role and has proven to be. Um, but it was definitely the right move. Seven losses in a row is just really, really bad. Um, and you mentioned Derek Carr. Um, I believe I saw today, maybe it was CBS reported that for a quarterback in that's played up to 11 seasons, right? So I think it was a quarterback with the most losses in their first season, second season, third season, fourth season, all the way through their 11th season. The names of those guys are either David Carr or Derek Carr. I believe through David Carr's first 4 or 5 seasons, mind you, he was the first Texans quarterback when they were just coming off the ground. Um, David Carr owns the record for most losses as a starting quarterback. And then from years 5 or 6 through year 11, where Derek Carr is now, he holds the record for most losses as a starter for all of those years. So it's very interesting to see that both of those guys have stuck around as starters, but just continuously lose and are record setting losers, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy stat. I mean, Derek Carr, his career has been super interesting. The one year where it kind of looked like maybe he had a shot at a run in the playoffs, he broke his leg with the
Yeah.
Raiders when they went 12-4 and had an outstanding defense, and he played great early on in his career. But yeah, as you said, yeah, this is year 11 of Derek Carr. He's been around since 2012, 2013. Like he's been in the league for a very long time, and we still can't really figure him out.
No, he lacks a total consistency. And by total consistency, he's consistently just almost good.
Yeah, and a lot of times he's pretty mid. And it's definitely he's not the main reason that the Saints have lost these last 7 games. He was out on injury for the majority of them. Spencer Rattler wasn't playing very well, and they've had a ton of injuries that their GM came out and said like it was kind of interesting because they came out and like their GM came out and said because he still has his job currently, and he was like, thanks to Dennis, it just is unfortunate that we had a ton of injuries that we dealt with, and that contributed to these 7 straight losses. But like, you don't get fired because your entire team got depleted because of injuries. I mean, this was kind of writing on the wall last year at the end of the season when there were incentives at play and the Saints were up by a lot in that game against the Falcons, and Jameis went against Dennis Allen's call to just kneel the ball and gave the ball to Jamal Williams to get another touchdown for his incentive. So that and none of the players said they had any regrets about that. So that's a problem when you don't listen to your head coach, and the writing on the wall was there. And we opened up this season, as you said, 2-0 with the Saints. Can they be a contender? Immediately 7 straight losses, which
Brutal.
is just brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an
Um,
interesting scenario. The Saints are not in a good spot.
no, they're not. And they also another thing that came out today because of a lot of Saints issues, and obviously something we'll get to in a bit with Marshawn Lattimore moving on, but their 2017 draft class has Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Alvin Kamara, Alex Anzalone, and Trey Hendrickson. And only Kamara is left on the active Saints roster. Ramczyk is a medical scratch and is looking like he might medically retire um, due to the injuries he's suffered over the course of his career. But he was a 3-time All Pro,
Mm.
like All Pro, not even
Yeah,
Pro Bowler
he was great.
in his very short years and dealing with injuries in most of the years where he wasn't an all pro. But that draft class was absolutely incredible, and it was really the backbone of the Saints team for so many years. And now it's depleted. Anzalone is off in Detroit with having significant success. Trey Hendrickson is obviously off a 4-sack game this weekend for the Bengals. And now, like we'll get to, but Lattimore moving on from the team, and Kamara obviously has been a stud, but it's just sad to see where the Saints have gone. The Saints go
Yeah,
marching on, as they say.
I mean that's a great draft class, and they've drafted really well. I mean, we talk about that every year, like for the most part, but it seems like they can't get enough young talent to number one fix their cap issue, and number two be good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we'll
they
see.
can't backfill well, but
Nope.
yeah, that's the Dennis Allen firing and a little bit of recap on the Saints. Next up on the docket, we got the Raiders because we love to talk about the Raiders, Derek Carr's former team. The Raiders fired their offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, as well as their offensive line coach, James Craig, and their quarterback, Rick
Yeah, some
Scangiaro.
Italian guy,
Yeah, I'm surprised. Scangarello, maybe.
Scangarello.
Yeah. All right. That's a lot of firings in Las Vegas. Mark Davis, what are you doing?
Well, Mark Davis, I forgot to I think I left it off the docket. I did see a report saying Antonio Pierce takes 100% responsibility for the firings. So he might be more of the sheriff in town. It seems like he was the one who really wanted to get rid of Devonte Adams. Obviously, he also wanted to leave, but they could have easily said no. And he was like, we'll move on. Some people need to grow up and take accountability. And he has given all the accountability to the offense for this poor 2-7 season as well.
Yeah, when you don't have a quarterback, it's kind of an issue, you know. And coming into the season, they knew they were not going to have a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is obviously hurt; he's on IR, but he was not the answer. Signing Gardner Minshew, Gardner's a great backup when your starter's hurt, but he can't be a solid starter for many games unless he's supported by good coaching and good team. And then who's the other guy? Oh, Desmond Ritter, who they signed off of like the Cardinals practice squad after they maybe even dropped him. It's just getting ridiculous at this point. They had no chance of being successful this season, so I don't really know what Antonio Pierce is really talking about. However, they've been even more depressing than they possibly could have been.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I always expect them to be bad. I don't think I expected them to be this bad. I expected their defense to show up, and maybe it has. But this week they gave up 41 points to the Bengals. Obviously, that could have an effect with your offense, not moving the ball downfield and giving bad field position for your defense. But um, they allowed Josh Jacobs to walk, who's having a tremendous season with the Packers. Um, I think the Falcons arguably screwed their season as well by drafting Michael Penix, and because they really wanted Michael Penix, rumor said before the draft, and had to obviously settle on quotes for Brock Bowers, who's been tremendous. But when you don't have a quarterback to throw to him and a quarterback who's going to go out there and win you games, it's not going to be great. And Gardner Minshew maybe can be good in a good offense, but their offense isn't nearly good enough. And they had, Jacoby Myers has been good, but it's strange that they can't figure it out, and it's year after year. And like they originally were one of the staple franchises of the NFL, and they keep going further and further to irrelevancy. And any team that has a good fan base that travels takes over that stadium now because it's basically a vacation in Las Vegas to go watch your team play. I mean, the Steelers game was insane. Terrible towels across the stadium.
Everywhere, everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's just
There's really not much to say about it
no. They've
because
made poor, like you've
they've
just
been bad.
recapped. They've made poor decision after poor decision, and it's led them to being a bad football team. And it's pretty obvious. Like they've not. It's not been like with the Saints, unfortunate injuries that have led them to being an even worse team than what they have on paper. It's they have a bad team on paper. They're making poor decisions in the background, drafting very, very poorly, like terrible at evaluating talent, no matter who's the GM, head coach, or OCDC, whoever's making any of those decisions. Um, it's just the franchise is in a really bad position. They just built this $5 billion stadium, and it's not even attracting any players to come play in it. Devontae Adams wanted to go there just because of Derek Carr. It wasn't because he wanted to be in Las Vegas or anything else. And since Carr's gone, he wanted to get out too. It's really just an intriguing situation in Las Vegas because, like you said, like it is Las Vegas and it is a big time destination, but that should also mean that you should be able to pull good talent. But it's the franchise that's not able to do it.
Mhm.
And that comes from the top. As much as Pierce wants to take credit for Getsy, Craig, and Scarangelo getting fired, it's unfortunately Mark Davis's issue not putting the right people in place long term. And it's they used to be a fantastic franchise back when his dad was running it. But
Yeah, and I highly doubt that Antonio Pierce is going rogue without talking to Mark Davis about
yeah, it
firing.
doesn't seem like it.
Nah, I doubt it. But
I don't know
I
how
don't
to
know
fix
what
them.
you're right. Like how is where's the road from here? Where's the path? I mean, you need a
It's
quarterback.
obviously a total rebuild. Yes, you're tanking for a quarterback at this point, but even you get a quarterback, like you need to pull a Washington. Washington has now shown us the blueprint. We thought Chicago showed us the blueprint to building a successful team for a rookie quarterback. Washington did it. The Raiders have that opportunity. They have a very, very high amount of cap space since they let all of these stars walk. So they should be able to go in, backfill their team with veteran talent that's maybe on its way out, bring in this new rookie quarterback, and try to rebuild from there. Because certainly, if they don't do this correctly, they're just going to continue down the same path that they're down right now.
Yeah, and they have historically not drafted well at all.
No, very poorly. And
Like,
I don't even have faith that if they do get a top 3 pick that they're going to pick the right guy.
well, yeah, and are they going to be able to develop him? Like it's just not promising. And I feel for true Raiders fans, like Griffin Wolf is one of them. Like it's just year after year, it's the same story.
Yeah.
So it's
It
tough.
hasn't changed in a really, really long time, unfortunately, for Raiders fans.
Yeah. Anything going on in the chat before we move on?
No, nothing now. We do have a bunch of people watching though, but no chat activity at this time. Just
Everybody's
want
focused in on the Yukon game as they
Just want
should
to,
be.
yeah, I think that's what's going on tonight, which I don't mind at all. But how about we rip through some of these trade deadlines? We had a pretty active day yesterday in the trade deadline.
Yes, we
Nothing
did.
else really happened in America on that day, just a lot of trades. Um,
Strictly the NFL trade deadline.
Strictly the NFL trade deadline. That was the only important thing that occurred yesterday. Um, so first off, the probably the biggest, maybe the second biggest, but one of the top splashes of the day were the Browns trading Zadarius Smith, their outside linebacker edge rusher, to Detroit for a fifth and a sixth rounder. They also sent with Smith a seventh rounder. Obviously, Detroit lost Aiden Hutchinson for the season with his broken leg. That was very, very gruesome. They bring in Zadarius Smith, who's been at the top of the league in pressures week in and week out. Matt, what do we think about this move?
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I mean, Dan Campbell had come out and said like they are going to go out and get a pass rusher before the deadline. Regardless of when that is going to be or who it's going to be, they're going to do it. I think it makes sense. Veteran presence, a guy who can probably fit well into that defense for Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn. He's everywhere he's gone so far. He's been good,
Yeah,
and he was good in Cleveland, and now they're adding him to a very good defense as well. And I mean, the Lions in general, just talking about them, I mean, they look like the best team in football by far.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Kansas City obviously is an undefeated football team. Detroit only has the one loss. And adding Zadarius Smith, like you mentioned, he has been great everywhere he's gone. Green Bay, Minnesota, now the Browns, and he will be good in Detroit. He'll do a very good job, and he'll be very impactful for their team. No, Detroit is the best team in football right now. I fully agree with you. They're beating teams very handedly. Even this weekend's game against the Packers, in which they only won by what was it, 10 points, 2 scores. They won that game much more impressively than the score will tell you.
Hmm.
They dominated start to finish, and they did that the week prior, and they likely will keep doing that. Now, Kansas City obviously still does still hold the 8-0 record, but they're not doing it in nearly as the fashion that Detroit is. And Detroit's one loss comes to the Buccaneers earlier in the season, which the Buccaneers have shown, even they showed you on Monday night against the Chiefs, to be a very formidable team, offensive and defensively. And at that time, the Bucks also had their star receivers, which I think would have made a huge difference in the game on Monday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What do you think about the value, the pick for Zadarius Smith?
This is something I did want to mention maybe when we got through all
Well,
of
because it's a
these
lot of the same.
because it's all of the same. It's basically nothing is what most of these picks are, and it makes me realize that a lot of these guys, especially that got traded recently, don't have big contract situations, and I think a lot is going on behind the scenes that common NFL fans are not privy to, where contracts are being traded more so than the players, where they're actually saying, hey, you know what, we're just going to move a pick or two so we have something to say we traded for, because in theory you're supposed to, but I mean, you could trade for cash considerations as well. Um, but they're just moving picks around, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks. That's the entire thing that's on the docket. There is no great picks except for, I mean, a couple of the trades do have some higher draft picks, but nothing that touches above a third. So clearly, we're learning that draft picks, though maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, were the most hot commodity you possibly could find. I think the NFL is going to a big shift to realize veteran players are much more impactful than draft picks are. And
Yeah.
high draft picks are much more important than late round draft picks. Obviously, that was a given, but some teams do well, but most teams can't succeed outside of round three.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it seems like, well, one of my coworkers was like, there's just so many trades at the trade deadline. And I feel like, 5, 10 years ago, there just wasn't this many trades happening at the trade deadline. It was more atypical of the NFL to do that. And, we were kind of chatting about it. And as you said, it just seems like the NFL does not care about rounds 4 through 7. They will get rid of it regardless. And even the Rams showed that if you're close enough to a Super Bowl, get rid of your top picks and get really good guys like Jalen Ramsey and guys that can push you to a Super Bowl and over the edge, because you may never get back there. So yeah, as you said, like they're learning that you can trade a 5th round pick for Zadarius Smith, and if he's on contract, just for this year or even into next year and the following, that's going to be more worth for the Lions at the door of the Super Bowl potentially this year, and they were last year in the NFC Championship game. That's going to help you a lot more than your 5th round pick next year.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's, like I mentioned, there's only a few teams that actually do hit on fifth, sixth, seventh round picks.
Right, exactly.
It's a very difficult thing to evaluate, and these teams that have very deep evaluation periods and have been successful, like two NFC West teams, obviously the Niners and the Rams have both found success in the late rounds. But even then, they don't find success every year in the late rounds. So they've realized that these drafts are very top heavy. Every year, your rounds 1 through 3 guys, that's where you're really going to find long term players, and trade the rest of them for veteran talent to try to get to the Super Bowl, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, this is also, there was another fun thing that came out today. This is the first time in since 2001, 2002, where every team holds a first round pick.
Wow.
Yes.
Without the trading and without the penalizing for trying to get Tom Brady before you shouldn't have, and cheating, and
Yeah.
wow, all right, well that's exciting.
Isn't that exciting? If
Yeah,
you're
it
an
is.
NFL fan, it means that day one's going to be exciting. As of right now,
Right.
obviously, there's a lot of trades that happen, but this is the first time at the trade deadline or after the trade deadline where every team has a first round pick this coming season
Yeah, I
since
mean the Rams
2002.
didn't have one for a really long time.
Nope.
The Broncos gave
Niners,
up a bunch.
Broncos, lots of teams did not have first round picks for quite some time,
Yeah.
but everyone will so far. So
All right, that's exciting.
pretty exciting. Run through a couple of these probably less significant trades, but you never know. They could end up being significant. The Bears send running back Khalil Herbert to the Bengals for a 2025 seventh round pick. Another one where it's a next year's seventh round pick.
Hmm.
Herbert comes into a running back room with Zach Moss and Chase Brown, who had a fantastic week this week. Um, some other ones, I mean, pretty much all of these are relatively significant. The Texans traded their D tackle Khalil Davis to the 49ers for 2026 seventh round pick.
I
That's
I
basically
saw that.
nothing at this
Yeah,
point.
absolutely nothing.
It's just getting traded for air, truly. The Niners do need some help defensively. They've been struggling, and obviously they lost Javon Hargrave for the season
Yeah,
earlier
like
this year.
those are back to back depth trades. You just need some
Absolutely.
guys.
Absolutely. We'll move away from depth and move to some starters. Um, the Panthers traded wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 seventh rounder to the Cowboys for their 2025 fourth rounder.
How are the Panthers fleecing people? It's like it is like a fourth rounder. Obviously, isn't that much, but the way someone so in our dynasty league, the way or somebody sent I think Sleeper might have tweeted it, and it was like I can't even get a fourth round rookie draft pick because in the dynasty league you draft everybody at the start, and then every year you have 4 rounds of rookie drafts, so you have 4 picks where you just take strictly rookies, and it's like I can't even get a fourth rounder rookie draft pick for Jonathan Mingo in my sleeper dynasty league. It's like, what do you think? Like, what is Jerry? Is Jerry? I mean, we know Jerry's cooked, obviously, but like, what is Jerry doing?
So I was talking to one of my buddies, Nate, down in Fort Worth. He's a big time Cowboys fan, and unfortunately, he's just this season's been really rough for him. And all Cowboys fans in general. But I messaged him this morning a little meme. It was a ballot, a voting ballot from yesterday. But at the bottom, someone wrote in "Fire Jerry Jones."
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, and that one was pretty funny. So I sent that to him to stir the pot a little bit. And he was like, "I think that Jerry's doing this to spite his fans." I truly do. Like, I could not understand any other reason that Jerry would be doing this. And I had an interesting take. I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but I've said some ridiculous stuff on this show before. Um, I think that there's a chance. Now, I know nothing, and I hope that Jerry Jones is healthy,
Oh
but I
Lord.
think there's a chance that he has been diagnosed with some terminal illness and he wants the team to die with him. That's my only thought because every move they have made or lack of move made has just been absolutely detrimental to their team this year. And for a team that was in the playoffs last year and the year before, it's just absolutely incredible to see where the Cowboys have ended up this year. And that
Yeah,
incredible in a very bad way.
yeah, it makes no sense. It's like we're 3-5. We just had a bad loss to the Falcons. CD's banged up. We just put Dak Prescott on IR. You know what? Let's go trade for the Panthers' fifth wide receiver who has 12 catches on the year, and let's not give them a 2026 seventh round pick. Let's give them a 2025 fourth round pick. It makes absolutely no sense. There's no value. Like the market could not have been there. It could not have been there. And it's like if you're going to trade for a receiver, I mean, he's young. This is his second season. He was just drafted a year ago, but like he's not. He hasn't proven to be good. And yes, he's on the Panthers, but he's not going to be good on the Cowboys. They're not going to be able to get him the ball.
This must have been a purely Jerry wanted to pick him 2 years ago, and now he had the chance to get him.
100%. Yeah.
So that was probably exactly where that's coming from because Jerry probably evaluated him, thought he was fantastic, and then didn't get the chance to pick him. Um, yeah, I
Sounds
don't
like a Jerry
know.
move.
I don't know. That's probably the most realistic reason as to
Yeah.
why he traded him, but
Right.
why a fourth rounder beats me.
Like we talked about how you like fifth round through seventh round,
Zadarius
like
Smith for a fifth and a sixth.
exactly, and it's like we talked about just 5-10 minutes ago about how like you fifth through seventh rounders, you don't even know if you're going to get somebody good. There have been a lot of great players in the fourth round, And moving forward with paying Dak Prescott 60 million and paying CD Lamb over 35, you're going to need young talent regardless. And you just gave away a fourth round pick for, yeah, maybe young talent, but he has not been proven to be talented. He has 12 catches through 9 games. And they don't even
Yeah.
have a quarterback right now.
No.
He's hurt.
Cooper Rush is playing.
Yeah, so the season is probably easily, I mean, it probably was
Oh no,
cooked
it's
already, but
over. It's
yeah.
over. Unless Cooper Rush comes out as Tom Brady, it's the season's done. So
Yeah, so he signed one person in the offseason and made one trade at the deadline that didn't make any sense and didn't make the team much better.
yeah, terrible.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
Truly terrible. I feel sorry for Cowboys fans out there. A couple quick ones. Jets traded wide receiver Mike Williams to Steelers for a 2025 fifth round pick, a better receiver for a fifth round pick.
Yeah, dude,
It's
like
just
that. Like
crazy.
you just go down the list. It's insane.
Like if the Cowboys went out and tried to trade Mike Williams for a fourth round pick, they could have got him because he got traded for a fifth round pick. Whatever.
Deontay Johnson, fifth round pick.
Fifth round pick. Yep. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
No sense. The Packers traded linebacker Preston Smith to the Steelers for a 2025 seventh round pick. Steelers get two good pickups right there. The Rams traded cornerback Tre'Davious White and a 2027 seventh to the Ravens for a 2026 seventh. That was just
like
wrong.
I
don't understand.
That was the one on the docket that I wrote, and I was like, I had to double check because I was like, is this even real?
Is this possible? 2027 seventh rounder. Why do we need to add that?
We're trading Trey White and a bag of chips that won't matter in 3 years down the line
for a little bit of an earlier,
for a little bit of a bigger bag of chips.
Yeah.
It makes
maybe
no
a
sense.
single chip more in the Pringles can.
The fall off of Trey White is pretty wild.
Yeah, the injuries really.
It's been bad, and yeah, it sucks because he was so good in his early years on the Bills, and like trading with the Rams, maybe they're thinking they can revive his career. I mean, the Rams, like it's like if you think about it, it's like, oh, is that a move where the Rams just need to get rid of somebody for picks, and because they're not really in it, they're in it. They're 4-5, like they are right in the middle of the NFC West.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I don't know. I think they're actually 4-4.
Oh, they might be 4-4. I mean, they just won this week.
I believe they're 4-4. The Niners are 4-4. The Seahawks are 4-5, and the Cardinals are 5-4.
Okay,
yeah, wide open division.
Exactly.
But to the last trade, the most impactful trade of yesterday, the most impactful thing that happened yesterday in America. The Saints traded cornerback Marshawn Lattimore and a 2025 fifth to the Commanders for a 2025 third, fourth, and sixth. That seems like a legitimate trade.
Yeah, that was the most legitimate trade of the day. Why were you watching the election? Do you really understand what the Commanders traded for Marshawn Lattimore? Can you pull that out of your hat? Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, this is a lot of picks. Marshawn Lattimore is outstanding, and now it shows you that the Commanders are in it. They want to win now, and they see that they have a quarterback that can. Yeah, they're a good team. They're a good football team. They're sound. They're fundamental. They're disciplined. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They have 3 turnovers on the season, which is the least through 9 games since like 1936, which I think is when the stat started being recorded for turnovers. So like they're doing historic things that they just hit their win total through 9 games. Like that's how crazy. They were over under 6.5 wins, and they're breaking records on lowest turnovers in a season this far. Great move by them. I mean, regardless like of the picks, they don't care. They just got an elite corner that they needed bad. And Dan Quinn just got like the first big piece of his defense moving forward, other than the guys who are already playing there. So I think it's a great move.
I absolutely agree. I think that they're going to probably give him a contract extension this offseason too, after this trade. So I think this is a great move for Washington. We can't say enough good things about Washington at this point. Like there is not enough good to be said because there's too much too much good. It's impressive how well they turned this organization around, like within a night, basically at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, not enough good things to say about Jaden Daniels. He's been absolutely incredible. Um,
Yeah.
and kudos to Washington. Real big kudos to Dan Quinn. I don't think I gave him anywhere near the credit I should have. Now what I knew, knowing then what I knew now. He deserves a lot of credit. He really did a great job. This is what happens when you change ownership to someone who doesn't hate football.
Yeah, I think Josh Harris and the ownership also deserves a lot of credit. The report came out that JPA posted that a lot of players really want to go to Washington now. Culture's revived, new ownership, new head coach. Cliff Kingsbury's there, great offensive coordinator. That's been great. Jaden Daniels is a beast. Young talent around him. Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson. Now you got Marshawn Lattimore. Like players are going to want to be in Washington, which is something we have not been able to say probably much in our lifetime.
No, I don't really know if it's been sayable in
Maybe
our
at all.
lifetime. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's been sayable since the Mark Mosley days in the 70s when they were winning Super Bowls.
right. It's an
But
exciting time to be a Washington fan. It really is.
shout out Washington, man. It's impressive. It's unlike anything we had seen previously.
Indeed.
Real quick, we'll run through one score week. Lot of one score games this week. Really good football being played, a lot of competitive football being played. First up, we got Commanders Giants. Matt was in attendance. Commanders took that one 27-22. Daniel Jones hit the truck stick pretty hard on two Commanders defenders. I think he
Yeah.
won the angry run of the week on Good Morning Football.
Oh, did he? Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was exciting. That was right in front of us. That was a cool score, but I mean, beautiful day overall. We always win the tailgate. That was tremendous. We got to see Scott from D11, who hopefully will be on next week to talk about midseason stats and awards. But yeah, we were. It was a good day. It started off decent. I mean, we gave up a touchdown early, but we responded early in the second quarter, 7-7. This was just a day where surprisingly the offense decided to show up, and the defense, who has been elite for the majority of the season, was nowhere to be found. A lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties, a lot of broken plays, a lot of huge back-breaking third downs. The defensive line had 0 sacks. They had 0 sacks as a team in general. Not much pressure happening on Jaden Daniels. Yes, he's very mobile, but you got to get to the quarterback at some point. So I give kudos to the offense. They ran the ball extremely well. They ran at 7 yards an attempt. Um, so that was awesome between Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, and Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had 0 passing yards at the half, which was pretty crazy. Finished with 175 and got his first touchdown in almost 2 years in MetLife. But the Giants are still 0-5 and they're 2-7. And the Commanders, as I was mentioning earlier, are a very sound, good football team. They know how to run the ball really well. The offensive line is probably playing above expectation this season. Jaden Daniels is an absolute beast. They just don't make mistakes, and it's hard to beat a football team that doesn't make mistakes always. Not many penalties, 0 turnovers on the day. So that's why they're 7-2, and their defense is not really that talented overall, but they're playing well enough to keep them in the game. And
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants' offense is what it is, and we are 2-7 and have the seventh pick. So that just shows how many bad teams are in this league, where it's like we have probably the worst record of last year, other than maybe the Panthers, and we would have been like second right now. We're seventh because our strength of schedule is the strongest. So it's a little bit frustrating. We'll see how it shakes out, but yeah, Giant season's easily over as it has been for weeks now. But this team is competitive. It's weird. Like have talent in different places, and not every game is Daniel Jones the problem. It's really like they don't have enough talent everywhere else, and a new quarterback would help, obviously, to create some magic. But what are your thoughts, Luigi? Were you able to watch much of this game?
I watched a bit of it. I was able to watch all the games on Sunday. This one just didn't pop up too frequently on Red Zone.
Fair.
Um, I mean, you know my thoughts on the Giants. Just hopefully you need to get to the end of the year once again, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you said it after week one. So,
Yeah, and I stand on my statement.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, it was fair. It's just, it's been crushing because they've lost a lot of one score games and a lot of close ones. They
they
just can't get
have,
over the hump. They're not there.
but at least they're close to the hump, unlike a lot of the other two-win teams. That's the one positive that I'll say. And Tyrone Tracy, there's a positive as well.
Awesome.
He's been
Malik Neighbors,
fantastic. Malik
awesome.
Neighbors, as long as he doesn't get traded to Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, no, I think that there you have a lot brighter situation than almost every other 2-17. Um, I think it's solvable, and Commanders is a really good football team. You said it best. They don't make mistakes, and you're not going to win a game if you're going to make mistakes and the other team's not.
Yeah, that's the story of that one score game.
Yes. Couple other one score games. Bills Dolphins. This was a very entertaining football game. This was on Red Zone quite a bit on
Hmm.
Sunday. Bills win 30-27 on a 61-yard Tyler Bass game winning field goal. Fantastic football game. The the Dolphins finally can field an offense, which is fantastic to see. The Bills pull out another one. They improved to 7-2. Great Bills team, great win. Um, did you get to catch on any of this?
I watched
I
the
know you
replay
might.
of this one because
Yeah,
I knew that this was probably the best of the 1 o'clock window.
it was.
Yeah, it's crazy that Tua, like the difference in their offense with Tua. And like we've questioned for a long time whether Tua is the answer. And at times he doesn't look like it, but he is the whole offense is clearly built through him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, they have stark difference between their backups and Tua, but I think that Tua is a very good starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think that's something that we've been proved this year. Um, Another duel between these two teams, but the Bills, I think, are now 2-0 this year against the Dolphins. And um,
They're like 14 or 15-1 in their last like 16 games. It's
yeah,
incredibly
they're
lopsided.
killing the AFC East just in general. Um, yeah, well, the Jets picked up a win and the Patriots lost again. So the Bills still have as many or more wins as the entire rest of the division. So the Bills are kind of just pulling away at this point. Um, Jets might get a little spicy. But who knows? Falcons, Cowboys, 27-21. This game was closer than probably should have been. It seems like the Falcons keep a lot of games close for no apparent reason, in my opinion. They should be able to pull away from a very sorry Cowboys team. They were not able to. Bijan had another great game. They're running the ball super, super well. Kirk's throwing the ball super, super well, but this defense is just very, very weird because they can be super good, but they're also super weirdly bad in moments. Not a great run defending team. Pass defense is fantastic with Jesse Bates, obviously, and AJ Terrell, but the Falcons, like, I expected almost like immediate Super Bowl contention. And at this point, I don't know if they really are a playoff team that can go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that was one of our concerns. Like when they drafted Michael Penix, is like if this is the year where you think you can win the NFC South and you can make a deep run in the playoffs, why are you drafting a quarterback at 8 when you could take a pass rusher because your defense really isn't that deep and talented altogether? So their offense is really talented. Kirk has been quite efficient, and it just I mean they have a good record. It's what are they 6-3 now?
Yeah, 6-3.
Yeah, and I mean they look like they're somewhat running away with the NFC South with the injuries that the Bucks have faced and the losses that have come the last 3 weeks, unfortunately for them. Um, but we'll see. They feel like a contender pretender. if that makes sense, where like
Yep.
they will be in contention because they're probably going to win the NFC South with the way that they've been playing. But I could
And the
easily
way
see
that the
them.
Bucks got hurt.
Yeah, right. And the factors externally from them, but I could also see them getting absolutely smoked by one of those NFC North teams or something in or like the Eagles in the playoffs. So
Yeah, I fully agree. They definitely aren't quite there, which is weird because I feel like they have all the pieces to be there. But
I think they're getting better. I mean, they've definitely played better football each week. So just gotta hope that, they just continue that.
yeah, another one score game, Titans Patriots 2017, the Dog Water Bowl. Uh, you
Did Red
know,
Zone show much of this other than the end?
although, yes, I was just going to get to that. They did not show much of this game whatsoever until the very end. If anyone missed it, Drake May had a scrambling touchdown to tie the game 17-17 at the end of the game. He was bobbing and weaving and ducking and dodging and dipping and diving and tossing the ball up to Ramondre Stevenson in the end zone for a touchdown right at the end of the game with time expired on the clock. Very impressive Drake May situation. Um, and then the best way to describe overtime, Patriots defense, bend don't break. They only gave up 3 points. And then Drake May just wanted to be a superhero and made too much of an effort on one of his throws, overthrew receiver for an interception that sealed the game.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that was an incredible effort to extend
Oh
that
yeah,
game. He is going to be special, but as we've talked about, and our scout essentially leading up to the draft, he is super raw and he's
yeah.
young. I mean, he's 21. Like it's going to take a lot of time to get this kid to be really good and not make those types of mistakes. And they don't have a good roster around him very much. But they're in these games, which is something we didn't really anticipate.
They're competing every Sunday, and Patriots fans. A lot of my buddies from home are Patriots fans, and they're very, very excited at the just the perspective of Drake May, and they think that it was good to see him be productive the past couple of weeks because it just shows them that there is a future.
Yeah. No, this is an exciting like regardless of them being terrible, this is an exciting season because it looks like right now you have your guy.
Yeah,
So it's just going to take time.
yeah, they just got to build around him. Have a little patience. Another one score game because there's quite a few of these. The Eagles Jaguars 28-23. Did you catch any of this game at all?
I saw the very end by the time I got back up here. I
Great
saw
Devontae Smith catch for a
oh, that
touchdown.
was incredible.
Excellent.
I mean obviously Saquon's
Saquon
spin
spinning
move and then yeah.
backwards.
No one's ever seen that
Did you
before.
did you see what Micah Parsons said about Saquon?
I did not.
He said that the league is suffering because the Giants made a stupid mistake.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they probably shouldn't have been as petty as they were. I don't think the thing is though is like Tyron Tracy's been great. I don't think necessarily like him being on the team changes our wins. Yeah, we would have all these flashy plays around us
Yeah,
and like
he wouldn't
our
change your win column at all.
right. So it's like we weren't in a position to pay a guy like that. I mean, it doesn't help that we're paying Daniel Jones all this money either. So yeah, bad decisions were made. I wish he was still a Giant, of course, but I'm glad that he gets to show his true potential on his prime right now with the Eagles. Unfortunately, as it is,
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair thing to say. I think that Micah Parsons should just shut his mouth and play football a little better.
he's not even
Um,
playing football, is he? Is he?
exactly. I
Did he
don't
play
even.
this week?
No, he did not. Sorry, he's not even on the field. Maybe stop podcasting and start focusing on rehab a little bit more, my friend.
Yeah,
Um, no, it is cool to see Saquon on a sick team while he is.
yeah. I mean, he's got a great old
I
line.
I
He's
will
getting the ball going.
fully agree with you on that one. That
It
was
sucks.
insane play. Yeah, no, I feel bad for you guys, but at the same time, like, would you be able to do the super cool stuff with him?
No,
Not as much.
no.
Unfortunately. Weird game, though. Very up and down. Not impressed by the Eagles. A.J. Brown suffered an injury, but luckily it's not a super long lasting injury. He'll probably miss a week or two with the injury. The Eagles are weird, man. Like they only
Yeah,
have 2, 3 losses, too, but
they have a lot of good players. They have a really good roster. I think their coaching
I
is going
think
to
they're
get
just
into the way.
very poorly coached. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one.
I
But
mean, Obviously, you
They
fire.
allowed the Jags in this game, and I'll
Yeah,
tell you that the team made a lot of plays to not allow the Jags in this game, but they were still there.
yeah. I mean, the game-winning play to Kobe Dean with an incredible interception on a bad throw by Trevor Lawrence, but nonetheless to seal the game. I mean, it looked. Eagles fans were on the edge of their seat. I'm sure, looking at the end of this game, being like, "Are we really going to lose in this fashion to the Jaguars?" Which I mean, Trevor Lawrence at least gave them a shot. So, yeah, this game shouldn't have been that close. If you're a really good team, the Jaguars have been trash, and a lot of other good teams have been able to handle them pretty dominantly. So I mean, wins are wins, but they're not coming very easily for the Eagles most of the time. So we'll see.
Yeah. Vikings Colts 21-13. This wasn't too crazy. Justin Jefferson, though, did add some accolades for himself. He's 31 100 plus yard games in his first 5 seasons, the most of anyone ever. He's at 98 yards per game, the most of anyone ever. He is just by far and away the best start to a career anyone's ever had. And he is just at this point, the sky's the limit for him. Sam Darnold's feeding him the ball, but he didn't have a touchdown catch. A lot of other guys did. 3 other touchdowns were thrown out by Darnold. Excuse me. And then we got 2 overtime games. We got the Rams and Seahawks 26-20. Nice NFC West showdown with a game winner by Matthew Stafford to Demarcus Robinson. Fantastic ball and catch
Yeah,
from the duo there.
I was able to catch the end of that game. That was exciting. And right before that play, a lot of teams like we talked about it, like probably 5 6 weeks ago. Whenever the Bengals were setting up to go into overtime, I think it was against the Ravens, and they were kind of settling for a field goal. They ran it 3 times, got like 2 yards in total, and the Rams, and then they missed the field goal to win, tie the game.
Yeah.
Or and Rams were kind of doing this in overtime to kind of get a field goal to win the game, but it's like they ran it once, and then the color commentator was like, I think they're probably just going to stick with the same conservative effort, and then play action rollout. Stafford bomb. Why he's open, he's got enough separation, and just a great one-handed catch too. So great play overall. I kind of got deja vu of that Packers Seahawks game, and obviously it was the Seahawks on the better end of that one. But yeah, same stadium, same sort of thing. I mean, good win for the Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That was probably one of the more fun games of the weekend for sure. And then the last overtime game and the last game of the week, we got the Chiefs Bucks 30-24. I was knocked out like a light. I can't say that I watched this game. I fell asleep in the middle of the fourth quarter or first quarter.
Yeah, I didn't honestly see this one either, which is on me. I take full responsibility for that,
I
and
did watch the
going to be better
playback,
next week.
however. The overtime obviously is a big story. Anytime the Chiefs playing an overtime game, um, they win the coin toss, and Baker's just shaking his head because he knew it was coming.
Yeah, you knew.
But the Buccaneers obviously score at the end of the fourth quarter, and they have all this momentum. They tie the game up 24-24, and they decide to kick the PAT. And I think that's the big story here is that when you're playing Patrick Mahomes in overtime, the coin is definitely weighted. So don't even try to beat him in overtime. You need to go for 2 in that moment.
Yeah, I agree. I did see that. And Todd Bowles had come out after the game, and they asked him why he didn't go for 2. And he said because of the field conditions, that it was wet. And that's why he didn't want to go for that. He was nervous about going for 2. It's like, come on, dude. Like, if you, like Baker knew, like, when the Chiefs got the coin toss, that they were going to probably lose that game. And it's like, don't even give that chance. Like, John Harbaugh's done it so many times. In that moment, John Harbaugh would have gone for it, no doubt in my
Absolutely.
mind. So
Absolutely.
I get giving your team a chance. Maybe there were factors that we don't fully understand, but I would have gone for 2. Just give
You
your team a
gotta go
chance to
for
win.
2. You
Yeah.
gotta go for 2.
And now the Chiefs are 8-0, and they just keep squeaking out these wins. Mahomes is Mahomes. The team's DeAndre Hopkins had his first touchdown. That was exciting.
2.
Oh, 2. All right.
Yes. He had 8 catches, 2 touchdowns, 90
So
yards.
that was a good move for them. Yeah, what did DeAndre Hopkins get traded for? A fifth?
Yeah, fifth.
What is Jonathan Mingo, man?
Amari Cooper was a fourth.
It all comes back to Jonathan Mingo.
It's always going to come back to Jonathan Mingo and Jerry Jones's silly decisions every single time. Just to wrap up a couple more things, Lions and Ravens. We talked about both teams, huge wins. The Ravens' backfield is just unstoppable, and as we had all predicted, honestly. Chargers take care of the Browns 27-10. Unfortunately, we both picked the
Yeah.
Browns.
Well, the meme that I
That was a
posted is
vibes pick.
yeah, it was a trickly vibes. I mean, clearly the Chargers are well coached and
Oh,
the Browns are
J-
not.
John and Scott lighting up the chat all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
What are your thoughts on John McGrath says, what are your thoughts on Malik flapping his gums?
What, Jaden Daniels? I mean, they're boys. They just played together last year at LSU. It is what it is. He probably wanted to be with him. I mean, we can't forget Malik Neighbors did not want to be a Giant. We know that for a fact. And it seems like he's come around to the idea, but he needs a quarterback. So
Yeah. And I think your dad was responding to some of the things we were saying, and we missed it a little bit. Um, and then Scott goes, Luigi has Jesse Waters hair. John says, great crop for Luigi, wig like. This is not a wig, John. I just haven't
yeah,
gotten a
let's
haircut
pull it back.
in such a really long
I
time.
thought you were going to get it after
Haircut.
Spain.
Yeah, I've just been so lazy about it at this point. But
You getting reprimanded in the chat
now,
here.
now I'm getting dogged on by two older fellers because I can't because my hair's too long. I'm gonna go get it cut soon. Don't you guys worry. It's not a wig. I couldn't pull any harder. I'm blessed with a beautiful head of hair. All
That's
right,
awesome.
let's do some picks, huh?
Yeah, week 10 picks.
Week 10 picks. I'm in the lead still, 88-50. Pretty solid week for both me and Matt, I believe. Matt's behind me 2 games, 86-52. Zach picked up a couple of games, it seems like. He's 81-57.
Yeah, I think you and Zach might have been tied for the best week.
Nice.
I think it was 12 or 11-4. I think I went 10-5.
Yeah. And then Eric is back behind us all, 70-68. That's
Yeah,
what
Eric may
happens.
have had, unfortunately, one of the worst weeks in PFR history, just picking all the away teams. I
Yeah.
think he went 5-10 or 4-11. It was not great. And Andrew Chang commented and said Hark with 2 crying emojis on the Instagram. Yeah, I mean, I probably should have given him maybe a couple games that he shouldn't have taken because it was just an unwarranted pick. I mean, Zach wasn't even taking the Broncos, and he just took the away team Broncos. So unfortunate, but Eric, he's got to look at the games here.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, I don't know how to play the music, and I'm operating the stream. Matt will be back operating
Next
next
week, Scott.
week. So I apologize for my lack of ability to use
Technology.
technology. I'm actually very bad at it, despite my age.
He's
I
not.
get,
He's not in Gen Z. He might as
I
well be a boomer.
yeah, I get clowned pretty frequently for my inability to use
That's all
technology.
right, though. We haven't had music the last couple of weeks. We can get going here.
I still know how to design transmission lines, I promise. All right. First game, Thursday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on NBC. We have the Bengals at 4-5, visiting the Ravens at 6-3. The Ravens are 6-point favorites.
Yeah,
Matt, what
I
do you
think. Ooh, go ahead.
Matt, what do you want?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think this is going to be close. Bengals played them pretty close in the last contest, but the Ravens are just on a roll. It's going to be hard to bet against them, especially if they're at home. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
Matt's going Ravens. I will concur and go Baltimore as well. They look pretty unstoppable right now. But like you did say, it was a competitive game, but it was in Cincinnati, so a little bit of a different switch up here. Now moving on to the Sunday slate. First game up on the docket, we got a 9:30 a.m. kickoff in Germany.
Germany.
We got the Giants at 2-7 and the Panthers at 2-7. The Giants are 5.5 point favorites in Deutschland.
This is the first game in 24 games that the Giants are going to be favored. This is the 30th game in a row that the Panthers are underdogs. If the Giants don't win this game, I probably have lost all hope. I could see them. I mean, the Panthers have been competitive, I guess. I mean, they just played a pretty bad Saints team. I hope that we're better than the Saints the way that we just played the Commanders. I think the defense will come out. They'll get a lot of action. We're going to run the ball. Tyrone Tracy's projected like 16 points in fantasy. I think he might beat that with the amount of times we're going to feed him the rock. They should win this game. I'm going to take the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Giants as well. I think the run game is really somewhere the Panthers have struggled and the Giants have been successful this year, and I think that'll be the difference. Germans are gonna get a running football game because Chuba Hubbard's also fifth in the NFL in rushing yards, and they're gonna definitely look to get him the football
Yeah,
going
I mean,
there.
we talked about like what are we giving the Germans, but maybe they'll be excited about this. More of a
Yeah,
rugby style contest.
a little bit more of a rugby
They
contest,
love kicking too.
absolutely. They do like kicking. They do like kicking. There's probably going to be a bit of that as well. Maybe we'll get a nice Daniel Jones 75-yard touchdown run.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be
That'd be
nice.
pretty cool to see. That'd be
And
pretty
not
cool to
trip.
see. Yeah, we do not want him to trip unless he's tripping while in the end zone. But moving on to the 1 o'clock games, we got the Niners 4-4 visiting Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 4-5. 49ers are 5-point favorites.
49ers coming off a bye. Bucks have lost three in a row. Zach said, talk to me after the 49ers game about this Bucks team. Unfortunately, they've dealt with a lot of injuries and close losses in the last couple of weeks. I don't think this is a win here. Unfortunately, it seems like their season is going downhill. Mike Evans, I think, might be out again this week, and Chris Godwin is obviously done for the year. So they're struggling, and Baker's trying to put it together, but it's just not. It hasn't been enough. 49ers coming off the bye. Christian McCaffrey, we didn't touch on, is likely going to start on Sunday, so that's exciting for Luigi. But yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, McCaffrey came out and said that he has zero pain at all in his legs, which is just super, super exciting. Another really cool thing about the 49ers this week is Dre Greenlaw started practicing, doing just some individual drills,
That is
which is
exciting.
very, very exciting for the team as well. Trent Williams came out and they were asking him about the two gentlemen there, and he said, I can't be more excited to see 23 and 51 back on the field. As our 49ers fans, Trent, as our 49ers fans, definitely taking the 49ers. I don't know if I've ever not picked them in the history of this show, truly. So we're gonna keep that rolling, baby. And I think we really need to get to 5-4 here. We need to start really pulling ahead for this division because it's a little tighter than I would like it to be. Next 1 o'clock game: Bills 7-2 visiting the Colts 4-5. Buffalo's 4-point favorites.
Yeah, this is a lower spread than I thought it might be, but it feels like a weird trap game where like Joe Flacco will find a way to make it competitive. But if you're the Bills, you need to just take control, keep rolling. A one seed in the AFC is still imminent. Even with the Chiefs being 8-0, I don't think the Chiefs will go undefeated. They've had a lot of close calls. Josh Allen's been playing well. He probably arguably had his kind of worst game because he had multiple picks this week. That he didn't have any turnovers beforehand against the Dolphins, but the Dolphins typically play him well. So yeah, they should win this game. I would honestly maybe even take the 4. It seems low to me.
Yeah, I agree as well, but I mean Vegas
Vegas knows,
they
like the
always
Jets last
they
week.
always know this is one of those things where I don't know if I would touch it as a non-betting man. Um, I'm gonna go Buffalo as well, though. I do think that they're gonna win the football game. I just think that it's an important game to keep winning. They need to keep it up. I mean, if the Chiefs drop a couple of games, they could be in the play for the first seed. Um, Funny enough, saw another graphic today. There are only two football teams to make the playoffs every single year since 2020, and they are the Chiefs and the Bills.
Mm, there we go.
Next 1 o'clock game, we got an AFC West showdown. The Broncos at 5-4, visiting the Chiefs at 8-0. The Chiefs are 8-point favorites.
I'm gonna keep going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, how could you not at this point? At
Yeah,
home against a division rival? Come on.
yeah, they've handled the Broncos for a long time, and before this past week against the Ravens, I mean, I think can you say you probably can't say the Ravens are better than them, but like better than the Chiefs, but the Ravens are a really good football team, and they just absolutely manhandled the Broncos. And I mean, the Broncos being on the road in Arrowhead, they have not been good. Bo Nix, that's going to be a tough environment, fighting against Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I've taken them every week. I'm going to take them until they lose. They've gotten me 8 wins so far this year.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm going to stop taking them either. They figure out ways to win and they dominate their division. Broncos, I think, will fall to 5-5, kind of fall out of the playoff picture a little bit here. But it's just Kansas City. What are you going to do? I would love to
Mm-hmm.
see the Broncos win, though. I'd be very happy to see them win.
Yeah, I mean, it's
8 points,
possible.
though. I don't know about 8 points.
Yeah, I mean, they just were 8.5 point favorites against the Bucks and didn't cover. So
Yeah, they haven't been able to win games by too many points. It would also be probably good for Chiefs fans to see a nice little blowout because they haven't had one all year, really.
that's true.
Because we have to be bipartisan,
Of course.
of course. Falcons, 1 o'clock game, 6-3 Falcons visiting the Saints at 2-7. Atlanta is 3.5 point favorites. I would probably hammer this 3.5 hard. So with that being said, I'll just jump out ahead and tell you I'm picking Atlanta this week. Obviously, the Saints lose their head coach. They lose their starting corner. What are we gonna do here?
Yeah, teams that fire their head coach go one of two ways. They either blow out the next team and have a great win, or they lose badly. This seems like more of a lose badly scenario. Like, I mean, it would be to me, it wouldn't be shocking if the Saints somehow found a way to have a close win at home, but I'm not going to take them. I'm really not. So I'm going to take Atlanta, and we'll see what happens. If I get beat on it, so be it. I don't really care.
So be it. Another 1 o'clock game. Patriots 2-7 at the Bears. 4-4. Chicago is 6 point favorites.
Oh,
Yuck.
dude.
Yucky,
I mean,
yucky, yucky.
you took the Cardinals last week. You
I
had a
did.
feeling of
I
what
knew
was
that
going
was
on.
coming. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't. I don't know if the Bears. I don't. I said at the beginning of the season when everyone was saying they're Super Bowl contenders, I do not think this Bears team is that great. I don't think they're terrible, but they're not that great in my opinion.
and they're
And
not well coached. They're just
no, they
not.
are very poorly coached. Their offensive line is garbage. Their defensive line is garbage. They struggle significantly up front, which is never going to be go well. I mean, if you see why the Chiefs have been winning so many football games, they have the best interior offensive line and the best defensive line, period, in football. It's just the way to win football games. Andy Reid knows it. Apparently, Matt Nagy does not.
Yeah, I saw a lot of drastic stats for them. Matt Nagy is 3-17 now on the road in his career as the Bears head coach. He is 0-18 on the road on Sundays. So insane. And it's like somebody tweeted and was like, "So you're telling me that sorry, not Matt Nagy, Matt Eberflus has
Oh yeah,
never."
I said Matt Nagy too. It's Eberflus.
Yeah, he's with the Chiefs now.
Yeah,
He's
he's Chiefs OC.
another bad Bears coach. Matt Eberflus. So the tweet was like, "Matt, you're telling me Matt Eberflus has never gone on the road and then gotten on the plane afterwards and been like, 'Hey guys, nice win on a Sunday.'" Like, that is just brutal. And the Bears this year are 4-4. They are 0-4 on the road and 4-0 at home. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to have a little bit of a comeback here in Soldier Field. The Patriots just feel like they should just keep losing, keep tanking. There's no point in winning, and the Bears want to at least have a shot at making a wild card here. So
Yeah, the reasons are very valid to me as well, and I'm going to roll with you there and take Chicago. Just really just because the Patriots. I mean, mostly every other team I'm picking, but Patriots are struggling. Another 1 o'clock game. We have quite a few this week.
yeah, there's a
Steelers
lot.
6-2 at the Commanders 7-2. One of the better football games of the week. One of the better games of the year so far. Washington's 2.5 point favorites at home.
Yeah, this is fun. Steelers coming off a bye. I don't know what Tomlin is off coming off a bye. I think I am going to ride with the Commanders, though. I like what they're doing. This is like a really good defense that they're finally playing against. So we'll see if the offense can get going. And yeah, I'll ride with Washington.
And I'm going to separate for the first time today. I'm
That's
going
a
to go
good.
with Pittsburgh. I mean, I always, everyone knows on this show, I love to ride with my boy Tomlin. And I'm going to follow him here. I think after a bye, it's going to be good. They had a couple good pickups on the trade deadline that I like to help the depth of their team in general. Russell Wilson's been balling out. Like you mentioned, the Commanders' defense isn't too impressive. They've done plenty to get the job done this year, but I think that Pittsburgh's got a better team in general. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh this week for the upset.
This is a
Last one.
good this is a
Go ahead.
good separation. I'm glad that we did that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the perfect game to separate, and there's probably two or three more that we could separate on in the rest of the docket. Well, actually, maybe only one. But actually, no, I don't think there are any.
All right,
Never
we'll
mind.
see.
Vikings 6-2. Last 1 o'clock game. I should mention Vikings 6-2 at the Jaguars 2-6. Minnesota's 4-point favorites.
Yeah, it has to be a win that the Jags are going to have, or sorry, not the Jags, the Vikings are going to have. Um, I don't see the Jags winning this game. This is in Minnesota.
This is in Jacksonville.
Oh, regardless, I'm not going to bet on. I'm not going to be a betting man on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their season's down the drain. Give me Minnesota. Then they didn't play. Darnold didn't play great though. He's got to be better this week.
Yes, I do agree. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions this past weekend. The Jaguars just blow. I mean, frankly, and they're injured as well. I'm gonna go with Minnesota. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jags win here. Honestly, Minnesota's really slowing down off of the high pace that they were at early in the year, but they're still a good football team and a good defense, more importantly. So I'm going to go with Minnesota as well. 4-5 game, only one 4-5 game this week. We got the Titans 2-6 and the Chargers 5-3. The Chargers are 7.5 point favorites. I'll get this one out of the way for you. The Chargers have been running the ball down everybody's throat. The Titans defense has been pretty solid, but only in the secondary. Their run defense has been very poor, especially the past few weeks. I'm going to go with Los Angeles. Also,
Yeah, I'm.
good to note, Justin Herbert's kind of been balling the frick out.
Yeah, I'm not going to doubt the Chargers, especially this week. I did it off of vibes last week. There are no vibes that lead me to the Titans this week. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, fully agree with that one. Herbert has been very impressive with a very lackluster crew at wide receiver. They didn't really make any moves at the deadline, but this is a super young team with a lot of promise because they have a lot of really good football players in the most important positions. Obviously, you got Herbert and then Slater and Alt at the tackles. Like your offense is going to be good for many years to come just with those three guys.
Mm-hmm.
425. First 425 game with the Eagles 6-2 at the Cowboys 3-5. Philly is 7-point favorites. Give me Philly.
Yeah, it has to be a win for Philly. You're going to be playing a backup quarterback with the Cowboys. The organization's in shambles. You have to win, and they're 0-3 at home so far this year. The Cowboys.
Yeah, I think I might be taking that 7 points if I'm being completely honest with you. Last 425 game, we got the Jets 3-6 at the Cardinals 5-4. Arizona's 1 point favorites. This is actually a pretty close game here.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
And if you want to think on it, I'm going to hop ahead and tell you that I'm picking Arizona. I know the Jets had a great game on Thursday night, but I think this Arizona team is actually pretty darn legit. Their defense has been playing above its expectations, and I think they're going to continue to. Kyler is a slippery guy. He's really hard to get a hold of, and he's a great player. They're running the ball so well, like ridiculously well, like over 200 yards a game well the past 3 weeks. And the Jets have been terrible defensively the past 6 or 7 weeks since getting rid of Salah. So I'm going to go with Arizona.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do here. Jets obviously with a good win over the Texans. The Texans are dealing with a lot of injuries at wide receiver, but now that we're looking at what the team they are now, I don't know if the Texans are as good as how they started, and they're probably not. Their offensive line stinks. Stroud got sacked 8 times this past week. Are the Cardinals going to allow that? Probably not. They're in the running for the first place, and they already are in first place of the NFC West. Do the Jets drop to 3-7? Do I believe in them again? Probably not. I don't know if I'm willing to take a separation pick on the Jets this week, so I'll take the Cardinals too.
All right. No faith in Father Rogers?
I mean, that's the thing. I have faith. I really do. And I feel like they might be able to figure it out. But the Cardinals are a decent football team. So
I agree. They're a tough team, and like I said, they run the ball really well. And if you can't stop them running the football, it's going to be a long day. because
Yeah.
Kyler can make some great plays, especially with Marvin Harrison. All right, Sunday Night Football. We got the Lions 7-1 visiting the Texans 6-3. Detroit is 3.5 point favorites despite being on the road. The Texans are debuting their all red unis that you saw earlier this year.
Mm.
Easy
Similar.
one for me.
Yeah, I mean, similar to the Chiefs, the Lions are on a tear, and they're a really good football team. I don't see a team that can currently beat them with the way that they're playing. They just added Zadarius Smith. That was a great move. Offense is absolutely cooking. Yeah, give me the Lions.
I'm going to take the Lions as well. I mean, you said what needs to be said. They're cooking, and they're cooking real good right now. Dan Campbell's got his boys hungry. Um, so they're balling out, and I'm going to ride with Detroit. Texans. This should have been a much better game. Unfortunately, the injuries to the wide receiver core really deplete the Texans. And like you said, their offensive line absolutely atrocious last week.
Hmm.
Monday Night Football, 8:15. We got the Dolphins 2-6 at the Rams 4-4. Rams are 2.5 point favorites. This could be a surprisingly fun game.
Yeah, based on the way the Dolphins are playing, I mean, I think they could beat the Rams, and I think it feels like a game where they probably do. So I'm going to take the Dolphins.
All right, we're gonna have another little separation here
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm
like I
gonna
like
take.
the Rams too, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate. So
no, that's a good one. They kind of the Dolphins seem to be due for a win this week. I will agree with you there. However, I'm taking Los Angeles. They were missing Puka Nacua for the majority of the game after he punched a Seahawks defender,
yeah,
and got caught. Um, I just think that they'll do enough to win this football game on Monday night under the lights. But yeah, that's the picks of the week. We got the Raiders and the Packers on buys this week. So they'll be taking a week off and they'll return week 11. But
excellent,
yeah, that was the picks. Little quick show. Tried to run through it quick so we can watch a little UConn basketball. Uh,
absolutely,
for anybody that joined, we're very happy that you did so. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Next week we should have a pretty full house. We're gonna get some guests, some new faces. Zachary should be back as well, so very excited for that. Matthew, any closing statements for the show?
yeah. Next week should be a fun one. Appreciate everyone for listening in. Yeah, I mean, this is halfway through the year. We're gonna get the mid season awards and statistics next week. Zach should be back. Scott should be here. Zach should have a special guest. So yeah, it should be exciting. I'm excited. This is a pretty decent slate this week. There are a lot of like interesting games. Could go one way or the other. So yeah, enjoy this week. Try to wake up maybe for the Giants game, maybe not. It might not be worth it for most people, but I will be up and watching. So appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you everybody. Tuning out for the day. Whenever I can get to the button. There's the button, and we're done.
Nice.